Welcome to Legally Everywhere, where we are what?
You know what I'm saying? It kind of makes you think if you're somebody like me and you've had a few moments where you go on like say something like TikTok, right? And you're saying, I'm gonna give myself an hour to be on here. And you go on there. Y'all know how I feel about analogies. You go on there and out of nowhere, they give you these dramas to watch, right? These social cultural dramas and on the dramas, and they pick different cultures, right? But it's still like these interesting things about power, right? And how they trade people, literal people or entities, if you will, for power and for leverage. And you almost always see them say, hey, I'm going to send my wife to you for power and for leverage, right? Or send your wife or send your whatever, this high level asset, something that is very precious and valuable that you may have. And as obtuse of an idea that is, right? As whoa and jarring as that may sound, it often was happening because why? If you even look at the history of some structures, right? Someone's wife could be considered their property, right? No different than their child being considered their property. Cattle, your servants, maid, people of that nature, right? Considered their property. So therefore, people legally at some point in time, and there's different places, felt that they could trade said entity. So using that analogy, right? In my mind, I was thinking like, wow, that's so interesting. Because that's such a grand idea to think you're going to trade a whole, let's say, island, right? A whole island is being traded as a point of discussion. And also, you'll find at some point in history the actual name changed as well, which makes it, once again, I said, just very interesting ideas. So, although this is very obtuse analogy that I'm giving you, just kind of keeping in mind when someone says like physically just trading, like, hey, because I have the power to do so, I'm going to say, not you're a part of this entity. Oh, you know what? We now have merged our stuff together. So now you're part of this entity, right? Now, what gets interesting is sooner or later, I'm going to talk about how there's a time frame where don't nobody even kind of like checking on in on them for a hot minute. Matter of fact, let me just jump to that part right now. I want to focus in on this particular part, just talking about the one I'm really big on consent, formerly trained as a social worker. I'm always big on that piece. So whenever I look at situations, I always like the level of consent and how that's dictated in like contracts and conversations, governance, and all of that.